If you watch the videos and my favorites, you now know that the top scientists in the world, along with celebrities and astronauts, are now saying that aliens are real and could be a threat. Why are they doing this? Because this is part of an elaborate hoax. The War of the Worlds was a novel written in 1898 by H.G. Wells, and it is when the alien phenomenon took off. Now, what do you not know about H.G. Wells? He wrote a book called The New World Order in 1940. If you watch Invisible Empire in my favorites, there are quotes from this book. H.G. Wells wrote War of the Worlds for a reason. It would be part of the counterfeit miracles Paul warned us about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. H.G. Wells was a student of Thomas Henry Huxley, who was a major influence upon him. Huxley was commonly referred to as Darwin's bulldog. This was a result of his vigorous defense of Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection against criticism by the religious establishment during the later half of the 19th century. Now, Charles Darwin himself was a Freemason who said that evolution was a complete farce on his deathbed, and also wrote that there would be a need for a race war in the future. This is all a part of the Babylonian Talmud deception, where followers of its teachings see themselves as a superior race. There is a reason Darwin denied evolution on his deathbed. He did not want to anger his god Lucifer before he died. If you look at Michelangelo's Last Judgment painting, which you can view in high resolution on Wikipedia, you will see 8 men hundreds of years before Darwin at the bottom middle of the painting. You will also see men making out and other strange occurrences, most of which I explained in my Shroud of Turin videos. You have been fed lies upon lies. All of these lies were spread for a reason. World governments have been working on flying saucers before the Roswell incident, which happened in July 1947. In 1934, at Miami University of Ohio, an aircraft called the Nemeth Umbrella Plane, aka Roundwing, was tested. During World War II, some research was carried out by a number of designers on circular wing aircraft, led by designer-engineer Charles Zimmerman. Chance Vaught led a series of designs that eventually resulted in the Vaught Flying Flapjack. In 1943, the Boeing aircraft built 3 scale model aircraft designs that had saucer-shaped wings with a propeller in the front and tail rudder in the back. In the U.S., a number of experimental saucer-shaped craft were apparently developed as black projects by the Lockheed Corporation for the United States Air Force and by the Convair for the Central Intelligence Agency. In an apparent attempt to quell speculation about the military nature of flying saucers, a press conference was held in July 1952, at which Major John A. Sanford denied any knowledge of the craft, and retired Major Donald E. Kehoe declared his belief that they were of alien origin. Meanwhile, in Canada, the Avro Company was also attempting to develop saucer-shaped craft. Funded initially by the Canadian government, John Frost led the team. Avro nevertheless continued work on the project as a subsonic design known as Project Silverbug. Silverbug was of interest to the U.S. Army, who was looking for solutions for battlefield transport and support, and they took over most of the project funding. The final outcome of Silverbug was the Avrocar, or VZ-9AV. It was made public in 1961. After Avro experienced financial difficulties in 1959, funding for future projects was apparently directed to the Bell Aircraft Corporation. First, let me say that there are no aliens. There has never been, nor will there ever be, any real alien spacecraft in Area 51. The idea that aliens, or that we, could zip around the galaxy like they do in Star Trek is simply bad science. Even if there were aliens and they could somehow make a warp field and travel in it, they would have no way to exit the warp field. You can read up on Alcubierre warp drive theory if you doubt me. Without warp drive, if they traveled at the fastest speed possible, the speed of light, the aliens would have to be near immortal to survive the length of the journey between star systems. To set up a wormhole, even if you had the insane amount of power to set one up in the first place, you still have to travel first to the destination, which any alien could not do unless they were near immortal. The picture you are looking at now is Area 51 in the late 1960s. There are areas blacked out on this image. Why? You're about to learn why. I have just shown you the gradual process of man-made flying saucers that predates the Roswell incident. I have showed you that they lied to you about their origin in 1952. I have showed you that 1 year after these lies, the movie War of the Worlds came out. Did the lies stop there? No. Now you can look at Area 51 on Google Earth. I highly encourage you do so. Simply put Area 51 in the search field. You will not find any alien aircraft there. What will you find? Craters, which happen to look amazingly like craters on the moon. There are literally miles and miles of these craters. You will also see a building that was built so the shadow resembles a film strip. What is even more amazing about this building is the film strip shadow is always present. They took this satellite image at the perfect time of day for the shadow to be pointing towards large bays. Inside one of these bays, you will see an astronaut helmet holding a theater mask. To the left of the bays, you will see a large memorial park that was constructed. Not too far from this, if I remember it was southwest of the bays, you will find a huge mural of an Apollo rocket with a circa 1960s television inside it. You can also find other occult sun worship signs in the sand throughout the base as well. Research it yourself. Satan is a master deceiver. Most of the original astronauts were all openly Freemasons, whom I have shown in my other videos worship Satan, whom they call Lucifer. There is a reason your mind is hardwired to reject that the moon landing would be a hoax. You have been fed the idea that the pinnacle of intelligence is a rocket scientist from the time you were a child. How many times have you heard or said, "I'm no rocket scientist"? There is nothing special about a rocket. It holds fuel. You need a rocket body that can handle the stress of the fuel's initial explosion and thrust. The rocket goes up. I may do a complete video on this in the future, but there is so much information out there that already proves the moon landings were a hoax that you can find it all easily on YouTube and the internet. Again, they tell you that anyone who questions it is an idiot, and they explain all the things in shows like Mythbusters that moon hoax truthers could care less about, while not addressing the huge problems. The fact that they call people who expose the truth truthers, and people use it in a derogatory way, just shows how brainwashed we all are. They offer the truth and are scoffed at. Now there is a biblical scripture I would like to read to you. Job chapter 38 verses 9 through 11. Here God is talking with the servant Job about the earth. God says, "When I made the clouds its garment and wrapped it in thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in place, when I said, 'This far you may come and no farther,' here is where your proud waves halt." Now what is God talking about here? He is talking about the Van Allen belts. The Van Allen belts keep us and aliens, which do not exist, from going farther than roughly 400 miles into space. These Van Allen belts are there for a reason. They protect us from the sun. Without them, we would die.